We are recording. I
Here we
just
are.
noticed. I had this blank stare like, hey, what's going on? All right. Hello, Veronica. And hi, Erik.
Hi. Hi, Mama.
Hey, love you guys both. Alicia, your Walgreens prescription. Stop texting me, people. Anyway, all right. So we're going to bring in Mohammed. I've been a little bit nervous about this because I don't know, if a terrorist is going to come knocking down my door and whatever. But I think Mohammed is very misunderstood, and he deserves to have the spotlight and share his views. And I want to give him the opportunity to clarify whatever he needs to clarify. So, Erik, could you go get Mohammed?
Okay, Erik, I'm ready.
All right. Hello, Mohammed. It's a pleasure to meet you.
He says, hello, Miss Elisa.
Oh, I feel like you are misunderstood. I don't know why. It's just a gut feeling. Can you speak to that?
Isn't all of humanity on some level misunderstood?
Yeah, that's
He
true.
goes, you're not human if you're not misunderstood. Because
very wise.
to be human is to search to be understood.
I see.
Yes.
Okay, so were you affected by the fact that your father died before your birth and your mother died shortly after? So you were an orphan at a very young age.
Yes, and those circumstances were, like everyone else's circumstances, on some level tragic, but on some level very therapeutic in the sense that they helped me to grow and to rely on something other than my immediate surroundings.
What did you rely on?
So it was a deeper connection, a deeper knowing, an understanding that I was born to be different. And it had to start out differently from the get-go.
And by starting out differently, you had to be born of tragedy, basically. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Very self-sufficient, very self-made, although those are words that really aren't true because no one is self-made.
Okay.
The divine creation.
I see. Well, so tell me about how you were affected by the fact that you pretty much spent, from, I guess, the age of 9 or so, traveling with your uncle on the trade routes, I think. So can you tell me about that and how it affected you as Mohammed, the prophet?
It gave me a deeper and a greater understanding of people in general. And it helped me to form my worldviews. And what was great about the traveling piece of it is every time I came up on a situation or scenario or people's, it was time to move on. So I didn't get locked into any one way of being. I was able to assimilate very easily into other cultures, into other people's ways of life. And so I had literally no attachment to how things should be.
Well, that's interesting. So you really did not have, you weren't committed to any one belief. It helped you have an open mind to all perspectives.
Yes. And he's saying very early on, he got to understand, because of all the diversity that he saw, that it was impossible that there would be any one way for any one person. And he's saying he accepted that right away. Right out the gate, he knew
and
that
so
one way
young.
was not no way.
And so young. That's amazing. Anything else you want to share about your childhood? I mean, for example, were you happy as a child?
Very, extremely happy.
Oh,
very happy.
So awesome.
Literally, he says the world was his classroom, literally. And so the culture and the people and the education that he got and the love that he felt, not only from his family, his uncle, but just all the people. His uncle was very well received and very well loved, he says. And so naturally, so was he. Going to bed in a different place every night allowed him to just feel comfortable wherever he was.
So you became very adaptable, very flexible.
Mm-hmm.
I wish more people had that trait. That's awesome. Okay, did you know anything about Jesus when he was alive? That whole Christianity movement, Jesus was before you. Did you know, had you heard of him while you were alive?
Understand this, that everything is connected and everything knows of everything else on some level.
Yeah.
So yes, there was an understanding. And yes, I understood that I would, in a sense, pick up the mission, if you will.
Oh.
Now, keeping in mind that the mission would shift a little bit, he says, because his mission, while it was still focused on love, as was Jesus, his mission was to appeal to a different sector, a different section of people, he says.
Oh, I see. So do you have anything critical to say about Jesus and his teachings? Or did you then? I mean, maybe you don't now, but did you then?
He says, no, he says that would be to criticize myself. That would be to criticize the one. That would be to criticize the Allah, the divine.
Yeah, because you very often said, I think God is one. So are you a believer that we are one as a collective? We are whole and part of God, and that by hurting one in that collection, we hurt the whole?
He says there is truth in the law of divine oneness. We are all literally one. We all came from the divine source. And what happens is, he goes on to say, and he's very expressive about this, free will came into play, and little branches of little independence broke off, used free will, and were not of love. And this is how it got so blown up and so misunderstood.
Okay. Well, we'll get to that. Have you met, after you crossed over, have you met Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, or any of the religious teachers from the past?
All of the above. Check.
Oh,
check.
check.
He
was
says,
that nice?
And the fact that they all, again, he's going back to that familiarity, because he was adaptable. It was an instant hand in a glove. And he's also telling me, this is interesting, he's also telling me that they all shared a little piece of one soul.
Oh, so Jesus has a little bit of Krishna and Muhammad and whatever, and vice versa? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yeah, that's what he's saying. Literally a little, if you could picture the soul, a little bit of it, the essence of it, the energy of it, just going into the being. And he says, because the creator created everything, but literally took the prophets, he's calling it the prophets, and said, here's a little bit more for you, and you all can share a piece of a soul, which then was helpful in streamlining the message and getting the continuity of the message. Because really, he's saying, we're all saying the same thing.
Interesting. So did you come in to your life as Muhammad with the same kind of spiritual amnesia that purportedly Jesus came in with?
Always. He said there's no exception to that. Everyone.
Oh, wow.
And he's saying that the way that he discovered to hear the voice, every single person has that ability.
That's true. That's true. Mm-hmm. Erik has said that same thing. Now, you were apparently widely respected, even by Jews, who refer to you as the trustworthy. You want to speak to that at all?
Sure. He says that started very early on in his life by watching his uncle mean what he said and do the deal with a handshake. Literally, His uncle was a man of his word, and he's saying, I learned to be a man of my word that way. And trust is something that you earn, but trust is also an energy that you carry yourself in. And so when people trust you in one capacity, it's very easy to be trusted all the way across the board, he's saying.
So that's the trust is an energy. I guess everything is an energy. Yeah, this is cool.
Yeah. So you can feel, he's saying, here's a teachable moment. You can feel when you trust someone and when you don't trust them. You know, maybe the hair on the back of your neck stands up, or maybe you get flutters in your belly, or maybe you just get that like, oh, look, I just want to be with that person. I get that. Yeah. So yes, it's an energy.
Okay. Now, can you tell us a little bit? Oh, first of all, Veronica, can you describe him and what he's wearing or anything?
He's a very big presence. I mean, I don't know what his physical stature was in life, but he is he's illuminating. He's very bright, very light. He's wearing some sort of long garb, I'll call it, some sort of long
like a robe?
Like a cover-up robe.
Okay.
And he's got no shoes on, actually. He's bare feet.
Okay.
And his hands are very big. I can see his hands be very big, but yet very soft.
Okay. What race?
Actually, his energy is very consuming in the room. It's like Erik is pushed off back in the corner and just watching, and I feel so shrunken in proportion to this energy.
Well, how does that energy make you feel emotionally?
In full disclosure, I always meet the energies that I transfer.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Because it's like, hey, hi, how are you? I don't.
Yeah.
And when I first connected to him last night, which was the first time ever, I literally cried. It was, and I have chill bumps going up my arms. There is so much love emanating from this energy that I want to cry right now. It's just, it's such a powerful force. And he's smiling and he's saying, thank you.
That's so cool. You know, Jamie had the same feeling, and she did cry because that was the first time when we interviewed Jesus. So that's kind of cool. All right. You want to tell us about, you had a meeting with a Christian scholar during your travels with your uncle, and that, I understand, affected you in some way. Can you talk about that?
Mm-hmm. It made me realize that it could be one message, but different messengers. And so I understood that while people will relate to certain people, the message could remain the same and is the same, but I knew that it had to be spoken differently.
Why?
Because he's saying, think of everybody brings their own set of beliefs, of their own personalities to a situation. And people, he's saying the phrase is birds of a feather flock together. And so people who are culturally connected one way will hear a message the way that the culture will allow the message to be heard. Now he's going off and he's saying the culture of Islam has changed in the sense that people, I just want to say we're having severe thunderstorms here. So if I apologize. Has nothing to do with Muhammad. The culture of Islam has changed in a sense that pieces of it have broken off and people have tried to be autonomous. People have tried to create their own religion, he's saying.
Their own version of Islam.
Of Islam, because this is not condoned by him, by Allah, God, by Jesus, by no one. This is not condoned. But what he understood was that culturally, you could go in and you could meet people, and he learned this from the traveling he did. You could go in and meet people and be received into their home, and you could speak their language, literally and figuratively, he says, and be able to make a difference. And he saw that. You know, he's referencing the fact that Christ talked in parables. And it wasn't about anything other than being relatable to the people at the time, because the people could understand stories, the parables that Christ told, because they could see the parallels in their lives.
Yeah.
And so Muhammad all took a book from that chapter, he says, and just kind of told stories. But his story was written by the Archangel Gabriel, the messenger.
Oh,
The
wow.
messenger, he's
Oh,
saying.
I will talk more about that. That's really cool. All right, Mohammed, can you tell us about your marriage? You were married at 25 to a 40-year-old Khadijah, and it lasted 54 years. She, from what I understand, was truly the first to see you as a prophet. Do you want to talk about that arrangement?
That was the deepest love that I ever understood here on earth. Because prior to that, I had only understood divine love. Now, that's not to say I didn't love my family, because I did. But as you know, there are different ways to love. And not only did I love this woman gave me an immense sense of security, an immense sense of wholeness. She literally was the other half of me.
Oh, that's so sweet. Now, you had sons, apparently, but they all died.
Yeah.
Now, why and how did that affect you? I've lost a son. It's so awful. But to have all your sons die, oh, goodness.
As a human, of course, as you know, he says it was very emotional and very difficult, especially for my wife. We had each other. But the bigger picture was they were needed elsewhere for other work. And still, as the human, he's saying, it was very difficult. But I also learned, and he doesn't, he's kind of like backing up and reserved, and he's kind of reluctant to say this, and he doesn't mean it to sound callous, but the show must go on is the phrase. And it's a similar phrase to what his father would say when life would happen on the road. I didn't get the sale. He's saying he's not comparing not getting the sale to losing his sons, but in reality, there's one category, and it's loss.
Yeah. But you mean your uncle, right? Your surrogate father. Okay, yeah. That's your father. Now, then you married 9-year-old Sayyida Aika. What was that all about? And you, of course, still probably married to Khadijah.
Mm-hmm. I wanted more children.
Okay.
I wanted more children, and it was also a way to express love and also a way to teach love.
To her?
Yes.
To her.
Yes.
And Khadijah was okay with it?
Yes, it was not forced in any way, shape, or form.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, every once in a while, you went to the cave Hira to seek solitude. Why was that?
Because I was being spoken to.
What do you mean?
I was receiving information. I was being guided to bring forward a bigger movement, a bigger understanding of divine. And when you're spoken to in the world and life is happening, it's real, you miss the message. And so I would often find myself going to places of seclusion where I would just shut down, and I would listen, I would absorb, I would hear. And at first I didn't realize what I was doing.
Interesting. Well, so did you have to get away from people like drama and chaos and naysayers and all that, critics? Was that part of it?
I was just following orders to get by myself.
From Angel Gabriel. All right, let's talk about that. Tell us about your visit with Angel Gabriel. What did he say, and how did you react?
Well, essentially, if you want to know what he said, you can read the Quran.
That's what I understand. Yeah.
He says that with a chuckle. But essentially, he's saying it's very comparative to the Bible.
Okay.
Saying it's a legacy, it's a remembrance of sorts of who we are and why we're here. And he's saying if people would really know what they're talking about before they talk and understand the Bible, if that's something you revere, he said, and understand the Quran, they're actually kind of very parallel. And he said, and then if you want to throw the Tao Te Ching in there, yeah, it's all saying the same thing. So every major religion philosophy is emphasizing love, unity, oneness. Now, he's saying since the beginning of time, there has always been chaos. There has always been destruction. And he wants to clarify that has nothing to do with the supreme divine being. That is 100% free will. That is 100% radical. And he's saying any religion, any philosophy that gets radical.
Uh-oh, you froze. Uh-oh. Are you there? You froze on me. Come on back, Veronica. 911 to Veronica. Dang it. Okay, peeps, we got cut off from our Mohammed interview last time because, we didn't want Veronica. She needed to get under a desk to hide from the tornado, right?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. It was a tornado touchdown.
Yeah, I know. Bad. So
power, it was a big deal.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Welcome to are you in Tornado Alley, actually?
I don't think so, no.
Oh, God, we get them all the time. Okay. Is Mohammed there, Erik? Or could you bring him in? Prophet Muhammad, I guess it is.
Okay. So both of them are here.
Okay.
Erik is taking a back seat, so to speak. He's going to step back for a little bit. And Mohammed is a huge presence.
Awesome. Like he was last time.
Yes.
Okay, much. Well, of course, Erik, if you want to ever jump in, you can. I love you, baby.
I love you too, Mom.
All right, Mohammed, my next question was, let's see, what did I even, oh yeah, I don't think we finished this. Tell us about your, we did, so I don't know, it's been a week, so tell us about your visit with Angel Gabriel, like your first one. Apparently, the Quran is all the messages from him to you, from what I understand. So what did he say in your first meeting, and did you freak out, like, oh my God, what's going on?
He said, yes, that is correct, that Gabriel was the messenger. He was the one that brought forward the words that I would put on paper to be what we know as the Quran. Okay. I did have many meetings with Gabriel, and he's saying, as any human would be, he was overwhelmed at the magnificence of this heavenly body. Mm. One thing that's interesting, though, is he's saying he wasn't skeptical. When this angel presented itself as Gabriel, he said he instantly identified with it and would accept that it was Gabriel. There was no misunderstanding or hesitation in accepting.
So you didn't think you were going nuts. You knew what was going on. That's interesting.
Yeah. He says, yes, I knew. Exactly.
What do you remember the first thing that Angel Gabriel said to you?
He asked if I was prepared to carry the message. He asked if I was fully aware of the significance of the message. And surprisingly, I was, he says, based on where I had come from, what I had experienced. He's saying that he knew there needed to be a better way. And so he was ready to carry the message to the masses.
Okay. Now, why did you march along with 10,000 Muslim soldiers on the city of Mecca?
to show that we are all one, to be solidified with, to show support, to be an inspiration of sorts. He's saying, but somehow there was a misunderstanding about that incident or that event. And he's saying it is truly of love that he comes from, and that it was never meant to be anything more than a loving gesture.
But there was military. I mean, there were Muslim soldiers, right? Did the soldiers kill people in the city of Mecca?
Yes, and he's saying that his inspiration for being there was to be the catalyst to open eyes, to create an awareness, never to instigate, he says, or to prompt more destruction. That was never his intention.
So you were marching in with these soldiers, not really thinking it was going to end up in a battle or war?
He says no, never thinking the outcome would be as deadly as it was.
So the people in the city of Mecca turned on the soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
You were just an emissary of peace and love with the soldiers? Well, why did you have to have soldiers?
He said it's a title. It was a title.
Okay.
And he said soldiers can be soldiers of love, soldiers of peace. They don't necessarily have to be soldiers of death. He's saying there's a lot in translation that was misunderstood about his time and who he was and what he represented. He was not an advocate for killing people.
Good.
He was not a mass murderer, as some would have them say.
Yeah.
This just wasn't what flowed through my blood, he says.
Okay. Well, were your soldiers armed with weapons? And if so, was it just for defense or?
He says no, they weren't armed.
Wow. Okay.
They weren't armed.
Was the persecution in Mecca the deciding factor in you having your supporters seek protection by the Christians in Abyssinia?
He's saying there's a lot of confusion there that he wants to clear up. So he's saying that the march, he's calling it a march with the soldiers, was to open the eyes of everyone around him. And it wasn't about saving any one person or group. It was about creating a cohesive peacefulness. And he's saying he wants to clarify that everyone was my people. Mm. He said, so the distinction, the separation comes from perception of people who would later pick up the story.
Oh, well, what happened? Was there you didn't mean for it to happen. Nobody wanted it to happen, but was there bloodshed in Mecca, in the city of Mecca?
Yes. He very quickly answers yes.
Yeah.
And he said it was not something that was planned upon. It was not something that was calculated or put out. It was something that happens when human beings get together and there's a conflict of will.
That's too bad.
And so one side couldn't see, he says, what the other side was really saying. And essentially, he's saying they were kind of both saying the same thing.
Oh, well, was it the governance of Mecca or the inhabitants of the citizens, regular citizenry of Mecca, or both that lashed out against you and your soldiers or your people, your marchers?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he calls them marchers.
Okay.
It was both. And he said, here's the thing. Anything that isn't understood is feared.
I know.
Anything that's different, that looks to upset status quo is feared. And fear resorts in retaliation. And so both places, you know, while I had spoken my message to my marchers and people understood, there was a disbelief and a distrust on some level with certain marchers and people. And
well, what part of the message did they lash out about?
Well, it has to do, he says, with truth and believing. So there were people that followed him, and he's saying, if you would like to look at the Christ energy, there were people that followed Christ and said, yes, we follow you, Christ, but in reality, they backed off and they didn't follow Christ. He said he experienced the same thing. And then the humanness picks up, and the free will and the clashing of free wills is what it was really about.
All right. So, but did you seek protection by the Christians in Abyssinia? You and your supporters?
Well, he says yes, but it wasn't like, well, we sought protection from Christians. We sought protection from...
No, by Christians. Okay. All right, but they were Christians that apparently, from what I understand, protected you. Okay.
But they were people.
Yeah. How did the migration from Mecca to Medina come about?
Spreading the word and the need to move from one place to the other based on the hatred that was surrounding his camp, he calls it. And so it was kind of like he's showing me there was a push, there was a movement out of there. There was a resistance to who he was. And so there was a movement towards a new location. He said they were very nomad-like. They just constantly kept moving and going. And there was a lot of ignorance, as there always has been, he said, and with ignorance comes hate and fear, and we didn't feel safe, and so we kept the movement.
Well, I think the movement was important for you to spread your word anyway, right?
Yes, absolutely, he says.
Okay. Now, following the immigration, the people of Mecca seized property of Muslim immigrants, to Medina. The ones who immigrated from Mecca to Medina. Then war would later break out between the people of Mecca and the Muslims. It says, this is from a passage from some source, Muhammad delivered Quranic verses permitting Muslims to fight the Meccans. Do you regret the armed conflicts that followed, and could things have been done differently? So they say that you delivered Quranic verses, which I guess came from Gabriel, permitting Muslims whose property was seized to fight the Meccans. Is that, first of all, is that even true?
He's saying that he did announce a commencement to protect what was theirs.
Sure.
So he's saying, yes, that in fact was true. And he's saying it was a stance to just kind of regain his authority, his composure in front of people. He said that he felt at times he could be too soft. And while we know that it's about love, there's a way to have love be the message and still withhold and protect what's yours. And he said in that point in case is sometimes there are casualties with that. And no, he doesn't regret it, he says.
Okay. Now, do you think this whole thing is the root of the current Middle East conflict? That was, a point in the same passage.
He's saying that it still lives on, and if you were to pinpoint the beginning, it probably would go back a little bit further than this. it has always been turmoil and unrest. And he's also saying it will never be free of turmoil and unrest.
Well, that's
And
depressing.
unfortunately, what he's saying is the tentacles of it, the pieces of it will reach out and become worldwide. And if I could interject here for a minute, are we seeing this in the extreme negative capacity in terms of what we would call terrorism? He's saying yes, but not to misunderstand that he doesn't and never has been about inciting people to fight against people. This is extreme, radical behavior that is not condoned by him in any way, shape, or form, or Allah.
Oh,
It is a gone off the tracks kind of behavior. It is not the norm, but he's saying the tentacles of it are reaching out, and that's why I clarified for myself that is what we can see as terrorism.
Oh, so you think it started, the roots of this were just conflicts between various tribes in the Middle East? Is that what you're saying? And okay,
it started. He's saying if you put siblings together, and one sibling has one opinion and another sibling has another opinion, they're going to fight for whose opinion is right.
Okay.
And it just never got resolved because there isn't a resolve. No one would give in and say, oh yeah, you're right, you can be right. He's saying this is the course.
All right, so tell us about the origin of the Haji, the annual great pilgrimage. Maybe you just did what we just talked about. Was that what we talked about?
Well, he's saying what I'm hearing him say is that is one huge event that unifies the love, the people. And so during this time, it's a returning home of sorts to source. And so bringing about love and connection and relationship. And it's also a refresher and a reminder of where we've come from, he says, where we've come from.
Okay. Now, in your 23 years of prophethood, what revelations did you receive from Allah that really were the most important for you?
The biggest thing he's saying was two things. He's saying the biggest thing is that we are never separate from Allah, never in any capacity. And the second thing is that we will always strive for peace. This is something that is inherent in us, and it's like the lost nomad that people perceived him to be, was always a quest for peace. And so he's saying the biggest revelation was the oneness, and that is really about peace.
Yeah, we're all one. God is love. We are love. We're just whole and part of love, right?
Yes, and he's saying that was very clear in the communication, and it's very clear in the Quran. And just like people will look at the Bible, the Bible was given by man.
Yes.
Because it's interpretation by man. And what Muhammad is saying, what I hear him saying, is that while he was man, it was dictated to him by an angel. Therefore, he is speaking his case for more authority from his religious book.
So are you a medium?
He chuckles. He says, well, of sorts, I guess, because it comes through him.
Yes.
And so, yes, he's saying that's the simplest definition of a medium. It comes through him. Yes.
Okay. Now, is Allah the same God as the other religions like Judaism and Christianity?
He's very quick to say yes. As you were forming the question, his head was going yes. He's adamant that there is one God.
Yeah, God is all there is. There is nothing but God.
So why are we fighting?
Weird. Yeah, well, it's so horrible that these religions are fighting with each other, and that, for example, in the Middle East, Christians are being beheaded for worshiping the wrong God. I mean, it's very.
He's saying it isn't even about religions anymore. It's about power, and it's about ego, and it has nothing to do with the religious text anymore. Nothing to do with it. He said people will get the wool pulled over their eyes. They will think it's one thing, but it literally has nothing to do with the religious text anymore.
Okay. All right. Here's along the same lines. Define God. And like, what do you mean? Because you say this in the Quran, God is one. And I think you already alluded to this. Islam literally means submission or surrender. And it says, Muhammad, that you proclaim that God is one and that complete submission or surrender is the right course of action. Tell me how you saw that. What are we surrendering to? I don't understand it.
Right.
I'm a slow learner. You dumb it down for me, Muhammad. I really appreciate it.
So he's showing us, he's making it really simple, I think, for me, because I'm like, dumb it down for me. But there's one gas pump, okay? And it's one kind of gas that makes our cars go, okay? We all drive the regular fueled cars. And so we're all pulling up to this one gas pump to get fueled. It's one source. And when we go to that source and we fill up on it, we run a certain way. We get to, go on and feel a certain way, just like our cars can run more smoothly, he's saying. And there can't be more than one source. Okay. Because the one source that created everything was the only thing there ever was. Okay. And so if we're all of one, we all come from the same thing. Now, he is saying the reason there is Islam and the reason there is Christianity and the reason there is Hinduism and all of these philosophies and religion is because he's saying the creator, the one, the God, is not accepting every single person or expecting every single person will get the philosophy as it is. And so the message doesn't change, but the messenger changes.
I understand. Well, what is the surrender? Where does that come in? What are we surrendering to?
Well, and he says it's our own ego. Well, surrendering our own ego to what we think is in our best interest. And he says to surrender doesn't mean that you give up anything. Surrender means that you kind of exhale and you just meet what's coming to you with love. And you learn to process with love. See, when people hear surrender, he says, it's like they think they have to give up their self. And Christianity, he says,
that's the ego. That's the ego coming in.
Yes, yes. But Christianity will say you have to surrender yourself. And if you listen to the interpretation of it, he's saying it's all the same thing because you have to give up that ego, that sense of wants and self. That's all it is. It's the same as Christianity.
Yeah, but a lot of Christians, it's like it's God's will. God is making you do it. But it's really not what it's intended. Now, do you consider Islam, I kind of know the answer, the one true religion? And also, what do you think of the other religions?
So you broke up. Do I consider Islam, he says, the one true religion? Is that part?
Yes. And what do you think about the other religions?
Okay. Oh, he says, yes, of course, I do. He says, because it comes directly from the source. He says, and of that, if you take that and you look at all the other philosophies and religions that have come down the line, they all mirror this. But it's like whisper down the alley, he says. One person tells one person, and then this person puts their spin on it, and this person puts their spin on it. And he says, ultimately, he doesn't judge, and he doesn't say, he understands fully that Islam is the religion, is the number one religion, but he doesn't discount or put down other religions because they're all about God.
Yes.
And so,
the Bible, for example, I don't know very much about any of the other holy books. I barely know anything about the Bible, but I think the telephone operator thing where things get changed over time happened to the Bible, and at the Council of Trent, things were taken out or put in to oppress the masses, to sort of control the public. Did that happen to the Quran at all? I mean, has it changed? Are there different versions from the pure one okay?
No, he says no. And he says, what happened with the Bible? And he's saying he's not here to criticize the Bible, but he wants to open eyes and enlighten people.
Sure, that's what you're here for.
What's that?
That's what we want you to do. Yeah.
Good. Yeah. And so he says what happened with the Bible is it became bastardized.
Yes.
It became selective by mankind. Why were books left out of the Bible, he says? Why did some books get in, some authors, he's calling, why did some authors get in the Bible and other authors didn't? He's saying if we as humanity, not Christians or Muslims, but we as humanity, if we are to look at the Bible and then look at the books that didn't make it into the Bible, we would see the missing pieces. And so that's important. So books that aren't in the Bible, he's encouraging us to research and find out what the missing pieces are.
Well, from what I understand, there's things in the Quran, or maybe this is only, it has to do with interpretation of the Quran, misinterpretation. That there are, bits about violence and misogyny and things like that. Was that truly in the Quran as you meant it to be? Or has the pure Quran been misinterpreted by humans?
He said, like anything, when humans get their hands on it, it becomes bastardized.
Yeah.
Now, what would have looked one way in he's saying in my time, what would have looked one way, which was completely innocent, could have been taken out of context down the road. And then it became a different transmission of words. But he's saying the Quran is accurate.
Okay, good. Oh, stop it. Oh, it's RD coming. Okay, is it true you never really professed to being anything divine? Just answer yes or no, because we got
no. Yes, it's true. I never professed that.
What race were you? What was your race?
Human.
The human race. Okay. I guess you don't, obviously. Okay, no, I'll do this first. The Quran was written apparently after your death? Is that true?
Mm-hmm.
Is it an accurate record of your revelations from Allah, do you think?
Yes.
Okay. How much of it do you support as truth, and how much of it is constructed by those in power to control the masses, as was the case in the Bible?
He's saying the original transmission, he's saying the original transmission is lost. It doesn't exist anymore. The original transmission as he first knew it, as he crossed over, it's lost, he's saying.
Lost where? You probably know where it is. Where is it? Under what rock can we find? What, is it burned up?
Well, when he's talking about it's lost, he's saying it was written over.
Oh,
It
okay.
was manipulated.
Yeah.
Again, like the Bible, this has gone on and on and on. And he's saying he wants to, this is very important, he's saying, it's not about what's in the book. It's about what's in your heart.
Oh, I knew you were going to say that. Oh, God.
And how
Okay.
you put it out into the world.
Yeah.
His message is do what's in your heart,
Okay.
not what's in the book.
Do you consider any of the main what were the main teachings that you think are either misunderstood or distorted? And especially the ones that encouraged people to become radicalized, jihadists, etc., spread terror instead of love.
Yeah, because he's saying the whole premise of this is love, but it's also about asserting one's belief in love and honoring one's God. And in standing up for that and asserting that, one gets messed up in their view of things. And so, also he wants us to understand why one could have more than one wife.
Okay.
So he's saying that in our society, especially the Western society, it's frowned upon. But from where he came from and the vision of it that was spoken to him was that this was truly expanding an extension of the family. That's it.
Okay.
So it was literally growing the family.
For practical reasons?
Yes.
For farming, all that kind of stuff, birding?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and to really grow the population and to grow love and to just, but again, he's saying it got so ugly and so bastardized and mistreated. He's saying the religious sects now and the population are misusing it.
I see.
World.
I see. So, what do you think about women? Do you agree with equal rights for women, or do you think they are inferior to men?
He's saying I wouldn't use the word inferior, but he would say that there are roles that the female energy does hold close to their heart. And that is the mother, the nurturing energy of the family. And there's nothing wrong, he says, with a woman helping financially with her family as long as the primary concern is the nurturing of the family. The male was definitely in charge of, bringing home the bacon, so to speak, as I'll translate for you. But he's also saying that there's nothing wrong with the woman working if she needs to. He's also saying it's important that women be modest.
Why?
It's a sacred thing. I'll be honest with you and tell you, he's asking about my shoulders being out. So
are you sure that it's not ego?
My shoulders.
That's not ego, Muhammad. Why would Allah care? I mean, he created our bodies, right?
Care about our shoulders, right?
Yeah. Why in the world? I have to disagree with you, Muhammad. The body's a beautiful thing. Why? Right. What is the practicality behind it, or whatever? He's
saying that it's a sacredness and it's an honor and a tradition to keep it sacred. He's saying to cover up everything. It's not what people think it is. It's not to shame her. It's not to hide her. It's literally, he says, to protect her. Back in the day,
I see.
Saying the day, because it isn't the day anymore.
Yeah, really.
Back in the day, that look, if you will, it was to protect her, he's saying, so that it was
Ah,
not
so
known.
I got you. So that's why you said in the Quran that they should wear the hijab.
Yes.
Okay, to protect them from what? From men, lusting after them?
Violating
Violence.
them.
Okay, okay.
Mhm.
But I don't think Allah, cares about, the body
So
being shown.
the message was, he says, men shall protect the women.
I
And
see.
then given that, the way man came up with protecting the woman was to shroud her, to put her in clothing.
Do you think that should still be the case now in the Middle
Yes.
East?
Yes. He says not only in the Middle East, for everywhere. Women need protection.
Well, obviously, a hijab is not going to protect people from being stoned or raped or whatever. It makes no sense. This is not making any sense to me. Sorry, Mohammed. It's okay to disagree, I guess, but
the year 500.
You try wearing a hijab in Houston, Texas, when it's 98 degrees outside and 150% humidity. There's no freaking way. But
He
anyway,
just says, I'm the messenger. He says,
I know. But I think probably a little of the Muhammad the man is coming through on that. But I don't know. Do you think that they should have the right to drive and get an education?
Oh, yes.
Oh, awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Why don't they just ditch the hijab and take self-defense classes? That would be okay.
I really want to clarify this, because when he said yes, they should, he was very passionate about the yes, in the sense that he's very protective of women.
Oh, that's sweet.
And while some of it, you mentioned, might be the ego thing, he's very protective of not just Muslim women, but all women.
Oh.
He sees us as very dainty flowers. And quite frankly, I don't know that he's, caught up with all that's going on in the world. I mean, obviously, he says, yes, I have.
Oh, good. Of course,
but he's not abandoning his beliefs for it.
That's good. I like that you stick up with your principles.
When you abandon your belief, you open space for doubt, which creates fear, which then creates war.
Oh, interesting. Well, I don't think we're as dainty as a lot of people think, but I do agree we are physically, most of us, not Serena Williams, but we're definitely more physically weaker than men. So what do you think about jihad? Are you still, it says, are you still in favor of exterminating those who are not of your faith? I don't know if that was ever the case, was it?
Yeah, he says that doesn't make any sense to him.
All right. So what do you think about what's going on with jihadis now? Are you disappointed?
He says it's appalling, and the way that the message was bastardized is disgusting.
Yeah.
And there's not one iota of belief that he has that will ever say, you're doing this in the name of Allah. This is just wrong. And he's very clear to say, the Muslims have gotten a very bad reputation from this.
I know. And you have.
Yes.
Too.
But he's saying, this is never what I stood for. This is never what I was about.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah, never. I mean, I have to tell you, in all honesty, I mean, I've channeled several people. I've Stephen Paddock, I've been in the midst of.
Oh, you didn't like that one. Oh, boy.
Was pure evil.
Yes.
I do not sense or feel one evil thing from Muhammad. I feel pure of love.
Good.
I feel very protected. And in fact, I'll tell you, his energy vibrates and similar to the Christ energy.
Oh, wow. I'm sure. Mm-hmm. All right, can you give a message to like the 9/11 hijackers, the other terrorists who have taken many lives? Do you have a message for them?
Well, the message, he says, would be watch who you follow, watch who you pay attention to. And again, he's going back to the heart. Is the answer really killing other people? Can that really be the answer? He wants them to think before they act, but he's also saying, this is big. He's also saying it's mind control. So these little people who are on the ground, the soldiers, so to speak, are being manipulated and puppets from a mind control perspective of a few people who have gone off the deep end. This is what is ruling.
Well, that's happened in lots of religions. What about the Spanish Inquisition, the Crusades, etc.? So
drink the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, people drink a Kool-Aid. Yeah. And so that would probably be your same message to today's Islamic Muslim youth on the path of violence and terrorism, right?
Yeah, it's not.
It's all about love. Follow a path of love, not fear.
He said, like any other philosophy or religion, anybody that knows that follows the person like Muhammad or Christ or Krishna, you know what the premise is. It's love. He's saying, so why would you buy into something that isn't love? It's manipulation that's happening.
Oh, all right. Now, is it true the whole thing about 72 virgins in the afterlife and your version of apparently that was in the Quran, but maybe it was put in after the true transmission of the Quran. I don't know.
You know what? At first he said yes, and then he said no. So I'm having a hard time as the translator understanding.
I bet.
Yes, it's true, but only parts of it.
Well, can you clarify so that this is not misunderstood by the masses?
Yeah. This feels like something he's not real wanting to. I know this sounds silly, but not something that he feels is relevant. Okay. But I'm going to do my best to understand what he's saying. People will believe what they want to believe. And I did what I thought was in the best interest.
Oh, okay. I get it. I totally get it. That's fine. And you know what? You can conjure up anything you want in your own afterlife anyway, right?
Yeah.
Because thought creates reality. So if you want 72 virgins, then...
I did what I thought was in the best interest and not my own, he says.
Okay.
I don't know what that means.
Now, do you have a message for the majority who practice Islam peacefully?
Mm-hmm. He's saying this needs to become a world that's united in one message, and that one message is of love. You can take your rituals, you can take your practices, you can have them if that brings you comfort. But at the end of the day, it's really about what's in your heart.
Oh, so true.
As you go forward in the world, go to temple, do what it is that you do, respect your rituals, but that's not what it's really about.
Oh, I love that. Is there anything that can be done to achieve peace in the Middle East?
He's saying, as we opened up this conversation, it's always going to be a discord of sorts in that area. It's like, I don't know what this means, but this is like a little digression from him. But what I can see is there's a vibration that goes through that part of the world that is very heavy, very dense, and therefore creates a very low vibrating energy, which permeates fear, which could explain, it's almost like I see rods inserted into that place of the world, and it's vibrating so low.
Does it have to do with meridians, energy meridians of the earth and things like that?
I'm thinking, yes. And this is a digression from Muhammad. I'm telling you what I see as the
Okay.
This isn't him anymore. This is me. Just that it vibrates at a very low level and it keeps people stuck there. And so to that point, he's saying, if you watch people who get out of a certain area, who get out of there, they tend to blossom and become different individuals.
Oh, okay. So is there anything as a collective that we could do to raise the vibration of that area, or is Mother Earth, that's it, nothing you can do?
Well, he's saying that Mother Earth will shift energies, and as a whole, we have this cosmic shift coming, it will impact that. However, we're never going to go to a place anywhere here on Earth that is pure love.
Okay.
That's the goal, and that would be wonderful, but it's never going to happen. Will things get better? After things get really worse, things will get really better.
What should the United States do, or the rest of the world? I don't want to be just like, it's all about U.S. No. What should we do to help?
Well, he's saying the number one thing you can do is elect people with heart. Elect people with compassion, elect truth. He's saying, let your voice be heard through the people that move the players. That's one thing that we can do. The other thing is collective energy. If we all, 7 billion people, he says, on the face of your planet, if all 7 billion people sent love and light simultaneously, it would certainly help the healing.
I see. That totally makes sense. It really does. What's behind the ban on alcohol and Ramadan, praying 5 times a day, and killing animals in halal?
Yeah, it's really about keeping the right mindset and keeping people on track. He says, keeping people mindful.
Okay, I see. All right. Now, do you truly believe that homosexuals should be stoned?
He's saying that's a bit rough, but he is saying that to procreate, which is love, and to bring life forward, which is what we're here to do, from that perspective, he condones or doesn't condone homosexuality.
But it's all about love. Why is it love is love is love? Why does love always have to end in procreation? Why can't you have love that ends in procreation, but also love, just love? Love is love is love. That's all there is.
Because he's saying if you have 2 of the same sex and then it becomes always 2 of the same sex, then that's all you have.
That's never going to happen. You think that it's only going to be 2 sexes together, that everybody's going to, there are going to be no heterosexuals, so we won't procreate, so we won't populate the planet?
That's what not as it should be, he says.
Okay. I just think that there are many types of love. And
I agree. I'm raising my hand.
yeah. Why is there so much hatred in a minority of your religion? Where does the hatred come from? I know that people are puppets, et cetera, but why do those leaders try to, propagandize and get these young people
they capitalize on differences, and they appear to set themselves apart from others and profess to be better than others, and therefore create a mentality, he says, that is superior. And everybody wants to be with a winner, he says.
Oh, interesting. Of course. Now, it seems like we could help raise the vibration by somehow helping the economy. I think a lot of people become puppets because they're poor, they're starving, they're not educated. What if the world, helped them raise up their economy and help with their education? Would that help so that they wouldn't be swayed by these very few people who condone violence in the name of Allah?
He's saying that's absolutely one avenue to pursue. Absolutely. Poverty breeds fear. It goes without saying, he says. But even even the most impoverished person can choose love, he says.
Oh my gosh, that's true. You're saying so many things that send chills. That really,
I just
so
say
powerful.
I have goosebumps all over my arms when he said that.
I don't know if amazing.
Like, oh my God.
Okay, well, we'll end up going on my usual list that I ask people, just really briefly. What do you think your spiritual mission was? I think it's to spread the word of Allah, that it's all about love.
Actually, he says, yes, to unite people.
Okay. Were you here to learn anything? Were you, when you were Prophet Muhammad?
I wasn't necessarily here to learn anything. I was an old soul who was charged with coming back and teaching.
Okay. Do you think you accomplished what you set out to do?
For the amount of time that I had to do it, yes. Somebody should have picked up and moved on with
I know. Well, do you have a message to the imams that they have a lot of power to make changes, hopefully? You have anything to say to them?
Search their heart for love, and read the book of reference. Go back to the Quran, look at it, and feel the words in the Quran. He's saying it's not about them and us.
Okay.
Ever.
Now, let's go back. I forgot the original. How was it lost? Is it burned up? Is it at the bottom of the sea? Is it in a cave in a mountain? The original, where is it? What happened to it?
He's saying that it was manipulated. So what I'm understanding that to be was, kind of like, think about if somebody erased it and crossed over it and wrote over it.
Okay. So the original was actually changed.
Embellished, wrote over. He's saying it's not real far off. He's actually comparing it not as far off as the Bible.
Okay, I believe
and
that.
Nothing was left out of the Quran. There wasn't, we're going to leave this here. Oh, you said this, we're leaving. He said everything was put in there. We didn't hide anything, he says.
All right, but things were added or embellished. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any regrets?
No, he says that would be silly.
Oh, love that. Do you want to share another life that you lived that most influenced your one as Prophet Muhammad?
He's saying, to the best of his recollection, he can remember being a very young child, who, actually, I don't know what this means, but he's saying he came in, well, this is weird. He came in as Moses.
Wow. So you were Moses?
I think that's what I'm hearing him say. I mean, I think that's...
Or were you a walk-in? Was there Moses, and Moses said, oh, forget it, I'm out of here, and then you substituted your soul in Moses' body? I mean, tell us.
No, because he's saying he was first.
Oh, okay.
Muhammad was first.
Uh-huh.
And then there was Moses.
Oh, so maybe Moses was a walk-in.
Was actually, Muhammad and Moses were synonymous, is what he's saying. I honestly don't.
Well, or did y'all...
I'd like to explore that, but...
Well, was the two souls in one body?
No, he said, I was the soul, Muhammad, that incarnated as Moses.
Okay, but was there a separate Moses soul?
I was the soul of Moses.
Okay, I got it.
You wouldn't call me Muhammad, he says.
Ah, I got you. Okay.
That, to me, I'm going to dig deeper with that, because...
Wow.
That's like freaking me out.
I know, because Moses...
I don't understand enough.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And I sure hope I got it right, because he's affirming, so...
Oh, yeah. Is there anything you want to share about you that people don't know about?
I think my life was pretty transparent, he says. I think my life was pretty much out there. But he's also saying that he had a true affinity, a true love for children.
Oh, that's
in a very pure, loving way. Because the children were the foundation of everything. And if you didn't educate children properly, you lacked a strong, solid society.
Yeah, well, children come in knowing how to lead with the heart,
Oh.
and we change them sometimes,
They're
unfortunately.
very pure. He says there's no filter, there's no veil. They're just connected, but then they come in and it becomes different. But he's also saying, here's a very important message he wants us to understand. The children truly are what we build our future on. And so if we are to eradicate or slow down the disintegration that happens, everything, the masses, everything, we have got to build up our children. They are the most precious resources that we have.
Totally agree. Any last messages at all? And then I'll ask Erik if he wants to ask anything, or you, Veronica, might want to ask anything. But any final messages, something you want to get off your chest that didn't come up when we were questioning you?
He's saying that he just hopes that people will get a different view of him, and that he just hopes that people will have more tolerance for Islam, and that people will truly understand that Islam is nothing more than pure love.
Oh, that's awesome. Erik, you want to ask Prophet Muhammad anything?
Erik says that he is fascinated by the whole Moses thing also, that he's curious about that. And that Erik will probably proceed to hang out with him, and maybe at a later date we can talk about that, he says. But Erik's on a mission to fact find, peeps. And so Erik is saying this was probably one of the most interesting for him.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Veronica, you have anything to say?
No, I'm in awe. I'm really, I mean, I got chill bumps the whole thing. And yeah. I just hope that as a medium, as a channeler, that I did him justice, and that people will feel what I felt as he was present in the room with me.
Well, Muhammad, did she do you justice?
He's got a big smile on his face, and he says, of course she did.
Oh, how sweet. Mm-hmm. All right, now, if you guys want to find out anything more about Veronica, it's www.veronicadrake.com. And anything else you want to share, Veronica?
No, I'm very happy to be doing what I'm doing. And oh, yes, I did start the School of Spiritual Arts. So if you're looking to learn a little bit more about spirituality, how to do what I do, how to look into yourself intuitively, veronicadrake.com, School of Spiritual Arts. Until June 1st, it is only $25 a month.
Oh, so my gosh, that's awesome.
You get access to me in a live Facebook group. I mean, I'm there, I'm teaching, I'm giving my heart and soul to this. So $25 until June 1st. And you can stop anytime you want.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Wonderful. You do such a great service. And let's see, there's something else I want to... Oh, are we okay releasing this to the public, Muhammad?
Yes, why wouldn't you be, he says.
Well, I don't know. I just want to make sure.
He said it's no more dangerous than anything else because people's minds will make of it what they will.
Well, I just don't want any jihadis to be banging down our doors and throwing bombs in my living room.
You haven't done anything wrong, he says. All you've done is be of love.
I know, but there can be some crazy ones. You know that.
Yeah.
So it's okay? We're good?
He's doing, go ahead, go for it. Erik is saying, Mom, just do it.
Yeah, because, I want to provide you with the service of, if you're so misunderstood, mm-hmm. I want to give you a platform to set things straight.
Mm-hmm. He's saying he's not the evil monster. That would be the synopsis of this whole interview. I am not the evil monster that people perceive me to be. I would never stand up for anything that wasn't of love. It's not who I was or am. And so these Islams that take on this terrorist feel or this jihadi stuff, there's no correlation there. No correlation. Right.
Awesome. Good to hear. Thank you, everybody. Like and subscribe, please. Bye, Veronica. Bye, Erik. Love you. Thank you so much, Prophet Muhammad, for educating us and for giving us such profound messages, reminding us that we are all of love.
Yes.
Bye-bye. Bye. Bye, Veronica.